enjoy the conversation and stuff that I bring, and looking forward to y'all joining in too sometime here soon. Welcome, 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 everybody. Um, let's see. Now I did do that. I did do that. I did do that. For those who might be listening in on the YouTube channel, I'm gonna go ahead and see if I got enough. Don't look like I can do this, so I can't do that. Anyway, I already played the intro. And for those of you watching on YouTube, if you happen to be tuning in, if you happen to tap back in and watch this show on YouTube, um, I am not yet fluid enough to the point where I can do the intros and all that type of stuff off top like I normally like to. Hey, AZ, welcome, 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 welcome. I'm glad you're here, brother. I'm glad you're here. But for those of you who might be watching on YouTube, um, definitely watch some of the other shows and things that I have on where you'll see how I'm working and putting together everything in a more professional way. But as for now, I just hope y'all hang around and you enjoy the conversation. Um, again, this is Freedom Friday. We're talking about activating alignment. Again, activating alignment. And again, welcome to the Chocolate Goodie Show. I am your host, Jamal Jackson, um, also known as Chocolate Goodie, a real estate solution specialist and broadcaster, and your voice for elevation, transformation, and financial liberation. Tonight, we're going to be digging into something powerful, and it's alignment. See, too often we chase our goals, hustle hard, and wear ourselves down by, but we're still not winning. Welcome, welcome, Az. Why? Why are we not winning? Because without alignment, effort becomes empty. You can't just work hard. You've got to move in purpose, move with faith, move with intention. Alignment means your thoughts, your habits, energy, and your actions are flowing in the same direction. With your spirit, your alignment, and your ultimate vision. And here's the truth: with it being Freedom Friday, um, I like to add a little bit of other content to these shows, especially when the fact that um, what I like to bring as content is not just about personal growth, but it's about financial literacy and liberation. I talk about real estate and, of course, common law, because this is about you being the best you and empowering you to do that. But in order to do that, you have to be aligned. Um, so financial freedom is an inside job first when it comes to the finances and being aligned. If your mind isn't aligned with success, your habits won't be either. If your values don't match your vision, your money will always feel out of reach. So tonight we're talking about how to recognize when you're out of alignment, shift your focus from pressure to purpose, and create habits that match your mission. My hope is to unlock the financial flow that comes from alignment with you, or to not really for me to do it, but for you to do it by embracing your newfound understanding when it comes into the power of you being in tune with self, with your highest aspirations, and with your ability to achieve everything that you put your mind to. Because as you hear me say, we become what we think about the most: the good, the bad, and the ugly. We are the creator of our universe, our world, and how we perceive our world is going to have a whole lot to do with how aligned we are with who we are and our purpose, our creator. There's a whole lot of things that line up into it, but the goal is to be able to be aware of the different situations and circumstances in your life to the point where you can, like I always say, reflect, redefine, realign, where you can realign yourself with your goals. Because like we talked about last night, sometimes people can pull you off your path. Things and situations can pull you off your path, and it's really hard for some people to refocus. So we want to talk about how you can shift your focus from pressure to purpose, create habits that match your mission, unlock the financial flow that comes from alignment, and be free. With this being a Freedom Friday, and freedom starts with, like I talked about before, awareness, building beliefs, finishing the things that you start and taking action if you haven't started them. So if you're ready to activate the alignment and stop moving against yourself, you're in the right place. So let's type in and let's go. I do want to bring a video in real quick, but before I bring that video in, Brother AZ, since you're here, and I'm moving a little bit janky tonight, I was way more prepared tonight, but some things came up and I wasn't able to get as prepared as I like to be. How you doing tonight, brother? Man, I'm good, man. I am good. I'm good and getting better, man. I am a little excited about this show and the things that I'm working towards and building up on. And I'm just at this point trusting the universe in the process at this point that the things that I put in or put out here tonight is going to be something that people can embrace. Last night I played some about. Go ahead. You're about to say something. No, I was just going to say last night I had played a video in regards to letting go when it comes into being in alignment. My goal is to, you know what? Because it fits the mold. I'm going to play it again for those who might not have been here last night. But when it comes into the focus and purpose of things, I think that this video just really, 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 really talks really good to it all. And it just really hopefully opens up, you know what I mean, your mind and whoever else is listening to even, you know what I mean, match the energy and just build on this topic of, or this month's topic actually about being in alignment and activating and ascending, you know, focus, flow, and follow through. Last night, a lot of the stuff that we talked about had to do with not chasing, but attracting, you know, not trying to force things to happen, but getting in alignment and allowing them to happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit this video as I get ready for the next segment. Hope y'all enjoy. It's not long. Oops, my bad. Hard, grinding every day, feeling like you're spinning your wheels. But here's the truth. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is nothing. The pressure to make things happen, to force them into existence, it's only holding you back. Real success, the kind that lasts, isn't about forcing yourself into places you don't belong. It's about trusting the timing, about having faith in the process. Look at it like this. A plant
doesn't force itself to grow. It doesn't rush to bloom. It just takes its time doing what it was made to do. And when the time is right, it blossoms. Your life, your success, it's the same way. You don't need to force it. All you need to do is be patient, trust the process, and align yourself with what you're meant to achieve. When you stop forcing, you stop fighting against yourself, you stop using all your energy on things that aren't meant for you. Instead, you put your focus where it belongs, on what you can control, your attitude, your actions, your mindset. Everything else will follow when the time is right. The hardest part is trusting that the universe will give you what you need at the right time. It's scary, I get it. But forcing it, that's what keeps you stuck. When you align with your purpose and stop forcing the outcome, that's when you unlock your true potential. So take a deep breath, stop trying to control every little thing. Trust that when you let go, everything will fall into place, just like it was always meant to. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that success is a result of constant hustle and pushing through obstacles. We're taught to work harder, do more, and always fight for what we want. But in reality, success isn't always about effort. It's about ease. When you stop forcing things, when you stop trying to control every little detail, that's when success starts flowing to you naturally. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you tried to push for something only to face setback after setback? The harder you push, the further away it seems. This is because when you're forcing things, you're working against the natural rhythm of life. It's like swimming upstream, putting in all this energy but not getting anywhere. When you learn the art of ease, you stop struggling against the current. You start to let things unfold on their own. This doesn't mean you stop working, but it means you stop stressing over the outcome. You focus on what you can control. Your actions, your mindset, your dedication. Stop obsessing over the how and when. Success isn't a race, it's a journey. The more you focus on forcing results, the more you're likely to miss out on the lessons that come along the way. You start to lose sight of your growth and purpose, getting distracted by the desire for immediate results. But when you ease into the process, when you trust that what's meant for you will come, you allow space for everything to unfold perfectly. You don't need to manipulate circumstances or rush through every challenge. The right opportunities will come at the right time. It's about being present, doing your best, and trusting that the universe is working on your behalf. When you let go of control, you allow things to align in their own time. The effort you put in becomes more meaningful because you're not chasing an outcome. You're embracing the journey. So the art of ease isn't about doing less. It's about doing what you can and letting go of the rest. When you stop forcing, you create room for what's meant to be. Success becomes less about struggle and more about flow. We live in a world where control is often seen as the key to success. The more we control, the more we believe we can shape our outcomes. But what if control is actually holding us back? What if the key to success lies in releasing that control and letting life unfold naturally? Now, releasing control doesn't mean giving up or quitting. It means understanding that there are certain things in life you simply cannot control. You can't control other people's actions. You can't always control the timing of your success. And you can't force things to happen faster than they're meant to. When you try to control everything, you put unnecessary pressure on yourself. This pressure only leads to stress and frustration. The truth is, life has a natural flow. And when you stop trying to force your will onto every situation, you open yourself up to receiving what's meant for you. It's like planting a seed. You can't force it to grow any faster. You water it, you give it sunlight, but in the end, it grows on its own time. If you keep tugging at it, trying to make it grow faster, you'll only harm it. In life, the more you try to force things, the more you close yourself off to new possibilities. Sometimes the things you think you want aren't the things you need. consider to be. When you stop trying to manipulate every situation, you open yourself up to receiving what life has to offer, whether that's a new relationship, a better job, or a moment of peace. Releasing control also means trusting in the process. You have to trust that the right things will come when they're supposed to. It's about having faith that things are unfolding exactly as they should, even if you can't see the bigger picture yet. When you let go of the need to control, you stop fighting against the flow of life and start working with it. The moment you release control, you allow yourself to truly receive. You stop blocking what's meant for you and start trusting that everything will fall into place when it's time. Let go and watch as life starts to give you everything you've been trying so hard to force. In today's fast-paced world, we're often told that time is money and that we need to move quickly to keep up. But in the rush to get things done, we forget that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply wait. Patience isn't about doing nothing. It's about trusting that the right things will happen when the time is right. Patience is a quiet strength that requires discipline. It's not about sitting around and waiting for things to fall into place without action. It's about understanding that everything has its season. Some things take time to grow, and that's okay. When you rush the process, you risk missing out on valuable lessons that come from being patient. Think about nature. Trees don't grow overnight, and the seasons don't change in an instant. Every plant, every flower, every animal all grow in their own time, according to a natural rhythm. Life works the same way. You might be working hard, striving toward your goals, but sometimes it takes time for things to unfold. This doesn't mean you're not on the right path. It just means that the timing isn't right yet. In fact, being patient allows you to use your energy in a more focused way. When you're not worried about rushing through the process, you can direct your efforts more effectively. You can focus on improving yourself, learning new skills, and growing in ways that prepare you for the opportunities when they do come. Rushing won't make you ready for what's ahead, but patience and working steadily while trusting the timing will. The beauty of patience is that it frees you from the pressure to perform on someone else's timeline. You stop comparing your progress to others and start focusing on your own path. You realize that everyone's journey is different. And just because someone else seems to be moving faster doesn't mean they're further along. By embracing patience, you're not just waiting for the right time. You're becoming the person who can handle what comes next. And when the time does come, you'll be ready. You'll have the strength, wisdom, and resilience to take on what life has for you. Patience is not passive. It's an active trust in the process. It's the quiet strength that allows you to move through life without rushing and knowing that everything will happen in its own time. In life, we often find ourselves fighting against what's happening. We resist change. We resist challenges. And sometimes we even resist success because it feels too far out of reach or not the way we imagined. But resistance only leads to struggle. The more we try to force things our way, the more we fight against the natural flow of life. It's like trying to swim against a current. You might be giving everything you've got, but the harder you fight, the harder it becomes. Surrendering resistance means accepting life as it comes without constantly trying to change or control every little thing. It doesn't mean giving up or settling for less. It means trusting that life has its own path. Fighting against it is only going to hold you back. When you stop battling, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and start flowing with the current of life. Think about it. Simply because it's uncomfortable or unfamiliar. Maybe it's a new job, a new opportunity, or even a difficult challenge you're facing. But what if that discomfort is the very thing you need to grow? What if resisting it is keeping you from becoming the person you're meant to be? Surrendering resistance doesn't mean you stop working hard or stop caring about the outcome. It means you stop trying to control every step, every detail. Instead of fighting every obstacle, you learn to embrace them as opportunities for growth. You start to see the lessons in every challenge, and you understand that each setback is simply a stepping stone toward your bigger goal. When you surrender resistance, you also stop trying to make everything perfect. Perfection is an illusion. It doesn't exist.
Hey, Purple,
But
welcome,
when you
welcome.
allow things to unfold naturally without trying to force them into your idea of perfection, you start to see the beauty in the process itself. The imperfect moments, the mistakes, the learning experiences, they all add up to something far greater than any picture-perfect result. So, stop fighting against life. Stop resisting the challenges and the changes that come your way. Embrace them. Learn from them. Trust that everything you're experiencing is part of your growth, part of the journey. When you let go of resistance, you allow life to flow. And that's when things truly start to fall into place. In life, we often feel the need to push ourselves in many directions, thinking that we have to be everything, do everything, and achieve everything right now. But in reality, we all have a unique path. When we start to flow with that path instead of fighting it, everything starts to feel easier, more natural, and more aligned with who we are meant to be. Flowing with purpose means understanding that everything in your life, every experience, and every choice is leading you exactly where you need to go. Think about the times when you forced yourself into situations that didn't feel right. Maybe you pushed for a job that didn't truly fit your skills, or pushed for a relationship that didn't make you feel complete. Even though you worked hard, something just felt off. That's because you were trying to move against the current of your own life. When you try to force things, you ignore the natural flow of your path. And that's when resistance shows up. Flowing with purpose is about trusting that you don't need to push every moment. Instead, you follow the signals life is giving you. Sometimes the path might feel uncertain or unclear, but when you trust that there's a purpose behind it, you stop fighting to control the outcome. You learn to listen, to pay attention to the signs around you, and to trust your instincts. Life becomes less about trying to make things happen and more about allowing them to unfold in their own time. This doesn't mean that challenges won't arise. It doesn't mean there won't be moments of difficulty. But when you align with your true path, those challenges become stepping stones. Instead of seeing them as obstacles, you see them as opportunities to grow, to learn, and to become stronger. You start to trust that every twist and turn in the journey is part of a bigger plan, one that's unfolding perfectly for you. When you flow with purpose, you start to experience life with a sense of ease. You start comparing yourself to others. You stop rushing through every moment, and you focus instead on being present in your own journey. You realize that your path is unique and it doesn't have to look like anyone else's. Trusting in your own direction and flowing with it brings peace, confidence, and clarity. Everything starts to come together naturally as you align with the purpose that was always meant for you. Each and every day you live, as you move forward, remember that everything you need is already within you. Trust your journey. Let go of the struggle and allow life to unfold as it should. Success isn't about forcing your way. It's about aligning with your true path and letting everything fall into place when the time is right. If this message resonated with you, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. How will you stop forcing and start flowing? Also, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to stay connected with more motivational content that will help you unlock your true potential.
So that was a very, very good. I mean, I do, and it's one of those ones you can listen to over and over again. And welcome, Third, and everybody else is in the building. Last night we talked about being aligned in acceleration. I'm sorry, you say something?
I said interesting what he said, about Denzel Washington talks about your purpose, and all of us has a different purpose. We could live in the same space and have different experience. We could watch the same movie, be in the same job, eat the same food, and have a different experience. And we are all different individuals, and it is grounded on information that is very accurate. I agree with he's saying, the purpose is more important than the intent of just trying to do something, but the reason of doing it. And that things come to you naturally. And what we do in life, we force a square in a circle. We force a lot of things. But when it's naturally, so you have less stress, you have less mental health in your mind, and it's just easier when you just let things flow. Like he said, don't swim against the stream, and let things. Not saying that you don't have no ambitions, but let things grow naturally, and you will get natural results. So
Right.
I pretty much heard the latter part of it, but it made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That was well said. Well said. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Because when we understand our true power, it kind of takes some of the pressure and the rust off of things. When you really know and trust yourself, your creator, and for some of us who've been through enough in life to know you can trust the process, that things will work out in your behalf. It's not about forcing things. It's not about being lazy either. You know what I mean? Because in the midst of you waiting and waiting for things to happen, and when you're trusting the process, it is important that you are still moving, that you're still staying aligned with you getting in a line. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. Because you can be too lax, and the next thing you know, you are in a situation and you can't, and you're so far out of alignment that you might miss the opportunity that you've been creating to come for you. We talked about a lot about that last night. We talked about finishing strong, because this month is about being aligned in acceleration and finishing strong. And we talked about 3 core principles last night: faith, focus, and follow through. Faith in your vision, focus on what matters, and follow through to completion. Um, that focus on what matters is so important, because distractions can cause you to be so out of line that it seems like the world is on your shoulders. But if you have the ability, well, everybody has the ability, but if you can discipline yourself to step back and relax and embrace, go ahead.
Yeah, I was I agree with you, because just 3 days ago I realized in my life I was catering to a lot of people who didn't really care about me, and I realized that it was doing me more self-damage, conflicting damage, because sometimes in life we glorify people, not inadvertently or advertently. We magnify people that don't have our best interest at heart. And I had to learn it the hard way, and I was like, and I see it, sometimes you have to get a certain age in your life, sometimes you have to get a certain stage to see that they don't really benefit, or then they don't have your best interests. And I'm not just talking about disagreeing with something, I'm talking about just in generally your entire being don't have, your best interests. And I think that that is very important to get the contrasting between people who, some people just pass through your life, and then some people in your life for a reason. Then there's people who's going to be in for a long time, like families and certain acquaintances. But you have to be able to differentiate when somebody don't have your best interests, and then when somebody has your best interests. Mm-hmm. So I was equipped, but I was not using my equipments. Mm-hmm. I was not, because I sat in many, and it's just an eye opener, like, and I did that because I wanted to feel loved, or I wanted to make people happy. I wanted to be accepted, So I did a lot of things, nice things, and whatever. And I was, it just was. But at the end of the day, you have to accept yourself. That's the main thing. And I was just wanting everybody to accept me, but I wasn't accepting me. So it's like sometimes you are your greatest enemy, because you determine how you respond to life. Mm-hmm. No matter what they say or do, or true or false, you have power over your own destiny. And sometimes we just forget that. We just look at the crowd, or we just look at the situation, but no matter how it looks, gloom and doom, we have something. That's how we respond to life. And if we respond in the way of life negative, we're going to get negativity. If we respond in life positive, we're going to get positivity. So, for example, somebody's in jail, sitting in jail for many years, and they're coming out. It's how you use your time valuable. And another thing, I'm not going to let you talk right now, but I'm just going to finish this last one. Another thing is the essence of time. Time is something how you use it. You could use it sadly. You could use it to be happy. You could use it to improve yourself. So time is not just tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. It's how you use your time. You could use your time and be in a room depressed all day. You could go there and say, I'm going to, or make something, or read, or empower yourself. Self-empowerment. So it is how you use your time. You could use your time to be negative, or you could use your time to build up yourself and build up each other. So it's all what you do.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. And being aware and that in tune with yourself is what we is what is required. You know, in the Soul Tribe, we always talk about self-work. You know what I mean? Everything points back to us, and being that aware of your time, of yourself, and being able to make good decisions is really what it's all about. One of the things, and it's just crazy how what you were just talking about kind of lines up to this next segment that we're going into tonight, because last night I didn't even get to really finish getting through all the talking points and things that I really wanted to bring out last night. So I put the show together tonight to be able to tap back into that. So one of the things that I want to talk about tonight is kind of something like what you just talked about, how misalignment, well, the theme of where I'm going to be going with this in one way is how this misalignment blocks your financial flow. But even more importantly, kind of go into what you were just talking about, how sabotage and poor discipline, or just being busy but not purposeful, can also delay your success. You know what I mean? And AZ and Queen, y'all more than welcome as always. You already know to come up here, but I want to talk about the trap that stalls your breakthrough, that misalignment in motion. So self-sabotage, the dream killer. The definition of self-sabotage.
Oh my God. Hold on. Sorry. I just want to, when you said dream killer, I just always talk about there's two types of persons in this world. There's people who build their dreams.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And people who kill them. And I just said to somebody earlier, I said there are dream killers, whether they're politicians, whether they are family relatives, whether they are church members, whether they're your neighbors. You know, there are people who put you in positivity or negativity. So when you said dream killer, I'm like, oh my God, this man must know what I was talking about earlier. I just tell somebody about that. There are dream killers in this world. And people kill your dream, they poison your dream. Negativity and pessimistic, and say, oh, that can't happen, and this and that, this. So you have to surround yourself with people who are positive and don't want to kill your dreams.
Exactly. Yes. Because that can throw you so far off. You know what I mean? And I mean, you love and like and know these people, but they can just sometimes be so negative. You know what I mean? And just so not in tune with their self to the point where they can't even understand or even really grasp how they are affecting your life. So that's where we got to protect our energy. You know what I mean? And be able to reground ourselves. So the definition of self-sabotage is when you consciously say you want success, but your habits, your thoughts, and your actions quickly work against it. How it shows up, procrastinating on important moves. You know that this is something that you have to do, but you keep coming up with all these reasons why you can wait to do it until the next thing you know, it's too late. You miss out on it. Shrinking back from opportunities because of fear or doubt. is another huge way of how this shows up in your life. That sabotage, where again, shrinking back means that you made a conscious decision not to move on something that could have pushed you forward. And a lot of times when you, I guess, relating that word shrinking to it, we're talking about fear and doubt. And fear and doubt plays huge in procrastinating because we get to make that excuse. We don't want to acknowledge the fear or the doubt, but we'll make an excuse that'll make us procrastinate. You know what I mean? Ultimately, again, sabotaging us. Starting but not finishing. That's another huge one. That's another huge one because when it comes into sabotaging success, it's just one of those things for people who don't start what they don't, who don't finish what they start. It just ends up being another one of those things that kind of fuel regret. And another one is choosing comfort over growth. Wow. That reminds me of something I learned some years ago that we do, and people are motivated by the things that they, for pleasure versus, you know what I mean, that over pain. All right, are supposed to be pain over pleasure. And that's really the theme of what that's just saying. Comfort over growth. You know what I mean? The comfort, it might feel comfortable right now. Smoking that cigarette right now might feel good to you right now, but ultimately you're slowly killing yourself. You know what I mean? It's like we end up choosing pain over the pleasure. We end up choosing to procrastinate or not do something or be willing to give up something versus actually doing what's really going to make us feel good. It's harder to do what's right and necessary. Sometimes it takes more effort and more work and more work. It's real easy to just to do the wrong thing. You know what I mean? It takes seconds to do something that'll mess up your whole life, but it can take people a lifetime to do what's right, to get their life in the right order. So when we talking about that, choosing comfort over growth, in my mind, the first thing that came to my mind is pain over pleasure, because we don't want to do that work. You know, even the good book says, you know what I mean? People like the light versus, like the dark versus the light, because they'll see themselves. You know what I mean? To do that self work is the same thing. You know what I mean? You can wake up every day, you can watch TV, you can hang out and do all these different things and not really be focused on self. But to focus on self requires you to set yourself aside and to respect, and like you said, honor yourself and your time, be aware of all that and how important it is for you to be able to use your time wisely. We talked about last night when we got off into the relationship aspects of being aligned and how all the stuff kind of comes when it comes to making those choices in relationships. But ultimately, we end up in a situation because we're not honest with ourselves about a situation.
I was just not to cut you off. I was just going to say, stick a pin right there. When you said relationship with others, the first thing you got to have a relationship is with yourself. And like you said, you'll be honest with yourself. You have to know who you are. Like me, I have an idea of who I am, but I'm not fully there yet. But it shows growth to admit that. But you have to know yourself. You have to sit down and write, this is what I like, this is what I do, or this is, so it's you going to another person and you're not self-developed, it's going to make it worse. So when you said that, you have to, the first relationship is your own. You have to have that self-value, self-worth, know where you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, your components, whatever, and then you go from there. But what I used to do, I used to just go to people. I'm not saying, when I was back then or whatever, I used to just go and try to figure out people, but I have to figure out me. Mm-hmm. And then if they like me or if they see me as a person, a contributing citizen or whatever, they will be drawn to me like a moth to a flame. but you have to be able to put yourself there and not be phony. You have to put your real self there and be real. And whatever you do, you have to own it.
Mm-hmm.
So people they don't like fakery. They like real. I noticed that people do not like copycats.
Mm-hmm.
They do not like replica.
Mm-hmm.
They like real things. So you have to give people the real image. Even if they don't agree, they still respect you for being authentic.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, well said. I mean, it's one of the reasons why social media and YouTube has so many people who just blow up just for being on there. People like their authenticity, them being real, and honest and open about their lives and situations and things like that. Absolutely. Well said again. We basically, we delay progress. And this kind of goes right to what you're saying also too. We delay progress because we're sending mixed signals, not to ourselves and to the universe. It's like reviving. It's like we are. See, the thing is that we get back what we put out. I guess it goes right in line to where we become what we think about the most. One of the things that I pointed out, and I always try to push when it comes to this show, is understanding your true inborn God-given power, your ability to think things into existence, feel things into existence even. That's the reason why being in control of your emotions and your feelings is so important, because those emotions and feelings stir up thoughts, and your thoughts create. Before you speak, add on to it. You know what I mean? That's just that much more power. And then, of course, our actions bring it to life even that much more. But embracing the fact that your thoughts are creating your world, that's heavy. That's heavy, because that means there's a lot that puts a whole lot of responsibility on being disciplined in your mind, in your thinking. That means that you becoming more self-aware of the things that you're not just saying to other people, because there's results and consequences behind the stuff that comes out of your mouth. But I'm talking about before you even open up your mouth, the things and the conversations and the words that you're having with yourself. We're not taught that produces anything for us. We're not taught that there's no power in that. That's one of the issues when it comes into religion and things like that. When it comes into religion, you're always looking outside yourself for the answers versus within yourself. And one of the issues with that is you not being aware of the power that you hold, because we either are not embracing it or we're giving it away to somebody or something else, versus embracing that power that is within us. Because understanding the facts that what you think about comes to fruition in your life, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I know this is motivational, but the reality is that if you negative comes. Period. You know what I mean? You breed it, you produce it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I said earlier. Like I said, you have to curb your attitudes and your moods and emotions and try to always align it with positivity. Okay, I'm feeling the way with this person, but let me look at the positive aspect. So I think that you have to train just so we train our mind to do bad, we can train our mind to be good and to extinguish those negative thoughts and to try. We don't live in a perfect world, but we could strive to be our best.
Yes.
And sometimes we're just too negative. Like me, I was really too negative. And because why negative comes from it's a heart condition. It comes from a broken place inside, because people spill out, they give you who they are. And some people have good experiences in life. They had bad personal experience, whatever it is, and they take it and they spread the hurt, spread the pain. What you have to do is a self-detoxification of your own filth, your own, before you take your back to relationship, before you take it with others. Sometimes you have to self-evaluate yourself and say, you know what? I need to improve there. I should not have an attitude. I shouldn't feel insecure. I should not feel that. You understand? So you have to govern your own self. I have to govern my own self because I know me and you know you. And if you really love yourself, you'll be honest to yourself and try to fix those problems.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. And I think that is one of the most powerful things, especially right now, that can be talked about and can be embraced in these times, because we live in a world where right now people don't want to own their shit. You know, they don't want to have the tough conversations, which ultimately continues to breed all this confusion and different things like that. And my hope and goal is that as we continue to grow and learn, that we are more aware of and acceptance and embracing the things that we create for ourselves. You know, I frequently point out, it's one of the things that I do because I dare not try to hinder anybody's journey when it comes to religion. But I do try to point out the fact that greater is he that is in you that is in the world, and how important it is to embrace that so that you can own, honor, and accept that and start moving with power and purpose in your life. Because to know how powerful your thoughts and your words are, and to take ownership and responsibility of that is huge and powerful. It eliminates the ability for you to point your finger at anybody, but it gives you that powerful ability to own your shit. Because when it comes into getting better, overcoming, and growing, one of the first things that people have to do in certain situations is to be able to acknowledge their faults, to be able to look at the actions and things that you said and you did that created this situation, versus blaming somebody else or you know what, or blaming God or the devil when it comes into being on a faith-based type thing, because a lot of religious people do that. But that's something that they're taught to do. But the reality is, if they really study to show themselves approved, or workmen in need of not be ashamed, these same things will come out, because it's in that book. You know what I mean? Study to show thyself approved, but seek you should find, ask and the door should be open. I mean, knocking the door should be open. All of that power is there if a person embraces knowing for themselves. Again, that's on the biblical thing, but that's also when it comes into finances, right? Aligned people spend with purpose, invest with clarity, and attract the right clients, the right opportunities, and the right business. I want to dig to here when it comes into us talking about this alignment in motion. The second thing I wanted to point out is poor discipline. Poor discipline is the bridge between goals and regret. So the definition of discipline is consistency over time. It's doing what needs to be done even when you don't like it. It's about being consistent. I can say that when it comes to this show, one of the reasons why I have not been on consistently over the past 2 months is because I knew I couldn't be consistent with it. And I know how important it is for me to be that way, not just for myself, but for everybody else who might be listening and watching. And I just chose to bite the bullet and take the necessary time for myself to pull myself back together, get grounded so that we can continue to grow and move forward as different things are happening. But without discipline, you rely on motivation, which can come and go. Just like I did with this show. There's some people who been on my head about not being here, especially in the morning, because it was a morning motivational show. But because I'm anticipating some more work to be coming, and I know that my ability to come on in the mornings consistently is not going to be there, I'm choosing to be here at night. So like I said, I had to reground and get myself back together. But discipline, without discipline, again, you rely on motivation. You rely on other people to push you or even inspire you or make you to do things. You know what I mean? But when you're disciplined in your thinking, in your motives, in your actions, you don't need anybody to motivate you because you know what you have to do. And thank you, Thread, for coming by. It was good talking to you. But you know what's necessary. You know what you need to do for yourself to be, do, have, whatever it is. And with that understanding, with that awareness of yourself and how important it is for you to stay to task, you knock down so many walls and barriers that hold you back. I mean, that discipline overcomes and overthrows the procrastination. You know what I mean? It's when you have a disciplined mind and you are moving with purpose, procrastination even becomes hard to do because you start to build a habit of doing things or doing what's necessary. And that's one of the things that when you do listen to these motivational videos and things like that, you will hear often, you know what I mean, how important it is to do those things that you don't want to do. And welcome, Cosmo, if you need to work out and you don't feel like working out, you go work out. You know what I mean? If you know you need to read, you don't feel like reading, then you read. It's like, because you know that side of you that's not feeling motivated, that's not feeling inspired, you know what I mean? It's not really the side you need to be listening to because you're better than that. You're more powerful than that, right? So you develop this disciplined mind to think past that. And you start to enjoy and embrace your ability to not get caught up on the negative things, to not be pulled or swayed side to side by these different distractions. Another thing without discipline is that without discipline, you waste time, you waste money, and you lose and waste momentum without discipline. And I'm talking about personal discipline because we just pointed out, this is not about being motivated by other people. This is about the discipline you have within yourself to motivate yourself. Because again, without that discipline, we procrastinate. Things don't get done. You know what I mean? And you find out that you end up doing a whole lot of stuff, which is my next one. You feel busy, but you're not building. It seems like you're doing a lot of things, but if nothing's really getting done, you're not really making progress. You're just keeping yourself going and moving and moving. And me, as somebody who is an entrepreneur and a thinker and all that type of stuff, creator and all that, I have to be really disciplined in my thinking in regards to from a day-to-day basis because there's always so much going on up here. If I try to do everything, nothing will get done. You know what I mean? But if I discipline and prioritize my thinking, I can knock things off and feel like I had a productive day. You know what I mean? Because there were times when I was doing to the point where I'm dividing up all these things that I have, you know what I mean, from business, let's say the BIGO, to the job, to the kids, all these things I'm doing. And for me, I said, y'all hear me say it before, you know what I mean? I'm spinning a lot of wheels because I know that I have so much stuff going on. I can't let anything sit too long. Basically, you know, the saying is that if you let the weeds grow in the garden too long, they'll overtake the garden. So that means that resting is good, but you can't rest too long, because as you're resting, things still need to get done. As you're waiting, things still need to get done. And you can find out and look up and realize that you are in a situation because you got too lax, you got too comfortable, and now you have to work that much harder to achieve what it was you were wanting to do. The next one I want to talk about is, and if anybody has any questions, or if you have something that you're committed to getting in alignment with this month, put it in the comments. You know what I mean? And maybe next week, you know what I mean, you'll come back, or later in the month, you'll be able to come back and say what you and say that you did that. You know what I mean? This is not for me, it's for you. But when it comes into thinking forward and trying to inspire you to be creative, that is something that I want you to do today, is think about something that you are committed to getting in alignment with this month, you know, and put it in the comments. Connection to alignment. Discipline isn't about punishment. It's about alignment. When you're truly in alignment with your purpose, discipline becomes a devotion. Like I said, it becomes a habit. That discipline develops and creates habits. Because when you're disciplined on doing something, especially that you need to do on a day-to-day basis, you end up disciplining and creating a habit for your mind to accept and push past distractions, and allows you to move on purpose. You know what I mean? You get used to, or it becomes nothing to say no to a distraction where you're not going to get off course, where you will finish that degree or whatever it is that you want to do. So that was my little spiel in regards to how discipline basically is that bridge between your goals and regret. One of the things that somebody said, and I've heard before, I would agree or disagree, but one of the worst things to die with is regret. And one of the first things to die, or one of the worst things to die with, is regret. And when you're not disciplined, you end up in that. It's very, very possible that you'll end up in that situation. So embrace your ability to be in control. Let me say that. You know what I mean? Embrace your ability to be in control of your own life, thoughts, actions, words, and ultimately results that you get in your life. Because again, if you truly are in alignment, you truly be disciplined, you truly are embracing that power within inside of you, and you know how powerful your thoughts and your words and stuff are. You really, really, really develop a sense of peace along with that sense of ownership of the things that you do, because you understand that you can turn things around in your favor, even when things go wrong, to the point where when things go wrong, you have more peace because you can embrace and acknowledge your hand in it. I mean, to the point where it's not about you pointing a finger, but owning what you did in this moment to allow this to happen in your life. You know what I mean? It doesn't make what somebody else or something else that happened not relevant, right? But for me, the way I see it is that if you want change, you have to change. You have to change. If you want difference, you have to be the difference. If things ain't going right, especially for a length of time, it's very important that we have the ability to understand and accept and own our part in it. You know what I mean? Just like I used to say that God ain't about to pick up a brick and hit you over the head and make you do nothing. So it's important to understand that you're not a puppet. When we're waiting for that download from God, our creator, or whatever you might call your creator, when you're waiting for that download, understand that it's something that's given and installed inside of you, that when you hear that voice in those words, it's not a foreign voice that you hear, right? It's your voice. It's that inner you giving you the answer, giving you that clarity, confirmation, or direction even that you need. But your ability to embrace that and trust that voice, that inner voice inside of you, is huge. Because if not, you will look outside of you. You will seek guidance from somewhere outside of you. That's one of the reasons why, when it comes to what I'm doing now with this motivational show and the things that I'm putting out here, it's not about me trying to make anybody do anything. It's not about me trying to save anybody. It's about sowing seeds and watering plants, because I do trust the creator to give the increase. You know what I mean? And when I say I'm trusting God, the creator, to give the increase, that means that I am trusting that these things that I'm saying and doing are going to resonate with you one day. And one day inside of you will be a spark that will be inspired and through the remembrance of some of the stuff that we talked about, or maybe it was something that you thought about along the show, that will make you get in alignment, that will make you stand up and act. So that had to do with the discipline, with discipline. Quinn, you're more than welcome to come on up. You know what I mean? Because those who are watching me on YouTube, if they are, I probably ain't been that many people, but everything. So I don't know if y'all noticed, but even though I am live on YouTube, that stays there. So you always got the ability to go back and watch the shows and things like that. That's why it's important for me to get myself into a flow and in a place where I got the ability to still make it a show even when I'm live. It's a lot of work, discipline, multitasking, and stuff like that involved. But I believe I can do it. I believe I can do it, but I have to be way more disciplined about my preparation before I go live. You know, he says, and they will, yeah. So let me get to this next part here, because this, I mean, I really, really was excited about the stuff that we were talking about today. Hey, Queen.
What's up, brother?
Hey.
What's up? I just came on up. I was trying to get Layla sleep so I wouldn't have so much noise.
Mm-hmm.
So let me leave out of here real quick. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Okay. But yeah. So let's get to the next section, which is number 3 is being busy but not purposeful. We've talked about it a little bit already, off and on, but we're talking about that hustle. Many people mistake motion for progress. They stay busy, but it's not targeted, and therefore it's not effective. Some examples of this is doing a lot of things, but not moving the needle, not seeing results. Working on the wrong goals or chasing trends, but not calling, but not making, but not finishing even. Or even another one is saying yes to everything, but leaving no energy for you to do the right things. You know what I mean? Being distracted. And as a result, we end up exhausting our purpose. We end up feeling unproductive, and we end up remaining stuck. Queen, did you have anything you wanted to say? AZ, you have anything you wanted to say? I really want to, at this point, I really want to know and hear from those of you who are in the comments, those who might be watching, you know, what your thoughts are about what we've been talking about tonight?
Activating alignment. I like that title. And it is all about activating your alignment. If you want to be aligned with something, get in position. Beyonce has a song called Get in Formation.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the way she puts that. It's like she's get in formation, because where we're going, it has to be aligned with one another. We have to be in sync in order to get there mentally, physically, spiritually. Our dance got to be, it's got to be connected, so I believe that everyone has the ability to be in alignment, but do you really want to be? Because to be in alignment means that you have a direct connection to what it is that you're asking to be in alignment for. And are you ready for that? Are you ready to be in alignment? Because once you're in alignment, that means that you're not only on your will, you're on the will of those that thing, that God, or that particular situation that you're asking to be aligned with. So if you're ready for that, let's ride. Let's get it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's where I think that sometimes that pressure can come from people who want to shy away from this type of thinking, this type of self-work, because it does require a large amount of self-reflection. And in this age of people who don't want to own their shit, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? That's a hard thing to do. You know what I mean? That's a hard thing to do for some people to really accept their plight in things. Because, again, ultimately, it's just pointing the finger back at you. Once you own your shit and you acknowledge your faults, your mistakes, and things like that, then that also means that now you also know the work that you have to do to either fix it or change it. And that's another part of that work. A lot of people don't want to do that work. That self-work. They don't want to fix. They'll rather complain and whine and cry and point fingers versus fixing the problem.
And all it takes is you just decide to do it. Decide to fix the problem. Decide that whatever is going on, you're going to take care of it. You're going to fix it. I do this thing now where I look in the mirror. And everything that I have a problem with in life, I talk to the mirror, so that the only person I'm looking at is me. Because at the end of the day, no one else outside of me cares about what I have a problem with. I guarantee you that. They're going on with their lives.
Right, that part.
They can care less about what my dreams and aspirations are and what I want to, build for my life. They can care less. So I talk to myself, because I'm the one that has to get this ball rolling. I'm the one that has to keep the ball rolling. I'm the one that has to fulfill everything in my head that I said I wanted to fulfill. And every day, everything starts with me. It ends with me. It begins with me and it ends with me. The people along the way, the characters along the way, the people that are put in your path in order for you to get from one point to another. It's like a computer game, all of these different players, in your life. So I have different players in my life, but they're all there. And it's almost like God is saying to me, when I'm looking at these different players, okay, now what are you going to do with each one of them, and how are they going to help you get to where you want to go? Because only you can put them in the places, if they're going, if they're agreeing to go, of course, but only you can put them in those places of where you want things to go and how you want to get there. So we have these things in our lives, and sometimes we're waiting for other people to save us. And I had to wake up from that one day. No one can save you but you.
That's it.
No one can heal you but you. No one can stop you from eating certain things that's messing with your body, got your leg all swollen all day long, but you. And we sit and wait for, that person, that we think is, oh, well, you're going to ride this journey with me, so I'm going to give you some of this load, and they're looking at you like, no, my load is over here. I got my own load. I need you to take care of your stuff, and I'm going to take care of mine, which is rightfully so. But sometimes we get caught up on that. We get caught up on, okay, this is my friend. This is the guy I'm with. This is the girl I'm with. So what part are you going to play, and play that part? But you're really not giving them no direction. You're not telling them what part, you need them to play, because you're scared that they don't want to play that part. So everybody's just waiting around for instruction from each other, waiting around for an answer from each other, and no one is really doing anything. And everybody's in their own corners, scared to say something, scared to talk, scared to, communicate, have those conversations. And it's crazy to me. The dating world today is just really weird, and it has a weird energy attached to it now.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why people feel everything is instantaneous.
Yeah.
It's not. Nothing is instantaneous. The only thing is instantaneous is the next breath that I breathe and the next word I breathe, and that's because I'm getting ready to say it. That's the only instant I know about. But everything else, it takes work. It takes practice. It takes me being around these people. My mom gave me a car, right? And I realized I had to get used to driving again. I had to get used to being in traffic again, dealing with the different energies out there. And it started to scare me for a minute, because I'm sitting there like, you know what? I've been driving, here and there, but this is different. The energy is different out here. I really got to pay attention, because sometimes you're in a daze. You're in the daze about your love life. You're in the daze about, the traffic that's out there, the people that are around you. You're in a daze sometimes. And when you wake up and realize that everything is real, 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 like, my twins say all the time, real, 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 you just like, what? How did I miss this?
Yeah.
How did I miss, that being on that corner right there? And I've been driving by this all this time. How did I miss that? What was I paying attention to when I was driving all those other times? But right now, it's like a focus. I have to be literally focused on everything. And I love it, but it's scary. I enjoy it, but it's scary as hell to me, because my new eyes is different than it was 10 years ago. My new eyes is different. My new ears are different. That sight is different. That seeing down the road, even that's more keen now. Because every decision I make now, I see down the road of it, and it's different for me. So it's almost like an awkward stance now on this planet with some of us. And I know y'all know what I'm talking about. It's like it's awkward to be around people, certain people sometimes, because you see them in a different light than you did before. And sometimes you see them more than they see themselves, and it's scary, because you're like, do they know I see that about them? Do they know I'm paying attention to them? Right. And are they paying attention to me like that? So it's a different energy on the planet, so I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. You're right though. And the more we become aware and line, even something as simple as driving. It's like one of those things where, you continue to grow. That experience teaches you. You know what I'm saying? The more you're behind the wheel, the more you're on the road and things like that. Like you said, your eyes are different. Your ears are different. You know what I'm saying? Your reactions are different. Whether they be more keen or not. You know what I mean? It just really just depends on how much you've been doing it and how you're doing it and things like that. But to understand and embrace even the fact that just doing anything on a regular basis is tapping into and being installed and doing something with your DNA. That's the reason why that mental fortitude and getting aligned with yourself is so important, because when you're out of balance, that can also be a habit that you end up, you know what I'm saying, developing. You end up getting used to, your body gets used to the rigmarole, the negativity, you know what I'm saying, the argument, and then the next thing you know, you don't feel right unless you got that in your life. Does that mean you're supposed to have it? No.
Right.
That's something that, again, you created. We create these things. And I know that that's hard for people to accept, but it's important. Especially if you really are trying to get in alignment with the life that you really want. Because a lot of those people who deal with those type of results, they are forcing things or chasing things, but because they're not acknowledging the right things, they just move in a scattered way. You know what I mean? And they feel lost. You know what I mean? They normally feel like the world is against them. They got all these negative feelings because they haven't got in tune with themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? Embraced and tried to learn and love themselves. So, that's just, for those who might be listening, you know what I mean? That's my question that I want you to ask yourself. Are you aligned with the life that you want, or are you just busy chasing it? That's a heavy one for me because of how much I do stuff, right? One of the things that I have been trying to be very in tune with over these past couple of years, especially since I've been on BIGO and been, with my new family, the Soul Tribe and everything, is not just talking about things, but being about it. You know what I'm saying? I know that when I mention certain things, when I talk about certain things, that you all and other people are listening. I've put it out there in the world. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to develop a mindset in those who are listening, you know what I mean, in my friends and family and society, being somebody who does not follow through, or being somebody who just talks and don't do. You know what I mean? Because it's me trying to be someone who people know, like, and trust, to allow me in the future to help them with major financial decisions, whether they buying a house, whether they want to make some major moves with their business, you know what I mean? Whether it's investing in something. I mean, there's so many different things that are available to us to make our dreams happen way sooner than down the road. In order for people to listen to me, that means that I have to be consistent. You know what I mean? That means that I have to be dependable. That means that I have to be trustworthy. That means that I can't be looked at somebody who just talks and don't do. Because why would you listen to me?
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that, for me, is another big pressure that I have on myself right now, because I know still the things that I say and the things that I talk about. So for me, this month's theme of activating alignment, being aligned, that having the faith in my vision, you know what I mean? The focus and the follow through is important, because I need results this year in a way that I've never gotten in my life. And I've done a lot of things. I've achieved a lot of things that I don't pat myself on the back for. Other people will. You know what I mean? But for me, getting over this hump, you know what I mean? This hump of embracing the power that I have inside of me. That means that I have to be truly acceptance and authentic of myself, and honest with, not just with myself and everybody else, so that I can move with confidence and poise and assertiveness to make these things happen. You know what I mean? I'm not waiting for them to happen. I know that in order for what I want to happen in my life requires me to grow some more, you know? And I know that that's the same way with a lot of other people when it comes into this ideal of getting in alignment. Something else I wanted to point out. Let's see. I've done so much, and I'm over here moving around, hitting different
But
things.
you're in the flow of that. You know, I believe that everyone that are trying and wanting to be in alignment, I always say this: the first step to a recovery is admitting it. You're already in alignment. You're becoming aligned in the motion of it, in the moment of it, in the now of it. You're now becoming aligned. So there's no time table for when it happens. You're in the motion of it. Always. We're always in the motion of growing. We're always in the motion of loving. We're always in the motion of giving. Always in the motion of taking. We're in the motion of it now. So there's no set rules. I believe that when it happens, it's supposed to happen 5 years down the line, or a year down the line, or a couple of months down the line. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. So if I feel strengthened in Christ, that Christ's mind, that Christ's consciousness, that the scriptures talk about, that I'm supposed to always be in. Let the what was that scripture? Let the mind of Christ be in. Let the mind of Twin, help me out. Let the mind of something be in Christ Jesus, something like that.
Yeah.
Y'all know what scripture I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I do.
It's something about something like that.
Yeah.
But you have to be in the mindset of the Christ consciousness. And once you're in that, and we're here now. Let's just be real. We're here now. We're in that moment, and me and Twin talk about this all the time, the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius means that everything has to come into alignment. Those that are spiritually led and are spiritual beings have to come into alignment, because you've lived a journey. I've lived 54 years, and in those 54 years, I've learned how and why being in the mind of Christ works. I know that now. I'm not guessing it. I'm not saying maybe. I'm not wishing. I'm not hoping. I'm not praying. I know that's the best route to go for everything I'm looking for. I believe now that Christ is the only way to spiritual elevation and consciousness. I believe that's the only way I can elevate my life, is to be Christ's consciousness, not to be as Christ as the man, because I don't really subscribe to, all of these characters being men and women or whatever. I believe these were metaphors, but that's my own belief, and I believe that they meant so much more than just a mortal man or woman, these people that were in the Bible. I think they meant a lot of different things, but we always want to just deal with the person in the Bible. And I'm like, no, I think we can come away from the Aesop fables and the stories and the fairy tales now. We can really say now that even if we thought that was a man, or we felt that was something that happened in the Bible, I'm going to be crucified and persecuted. There's things that's going to happen to me. If I stand for something, people might throw rocks at me. People might talk about me and slander my name. That's the same thing they did with Christ, right? So there's things when you stand up for certain things, especially in a righteous way, you're going to be persecuted. You're going to be talked about. All of these things can happen to you. So yeah, I can relate to the character of the man they call Christ. And if that story is true, I can relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to subscribe my whole life to all of these different old men in the Bible that, once lived. I really don't believe that they wanted us to carry this long. And this is my own personal belief. No one has to really agree, but I don't believe that they wanted us to carry all of this and to take these stories and make a whole church around it, a mosque and kingdom halls and Baptist churches. I don't believe they wanted us to do that to their names. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think they wanted us to learn lessons. I think they wanted us to read it. I can read a story about Dr. Miles Monroe and read about his life, but I guarantee you it's going to mimic some of the people that are in the same Bible. There were many saviors that came after Christ. There were many. Mm-hmm. Malcolm X was a savior of some kind. He was a liberator of freedom. He wanted to do a certain work. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, all of these people that came to save and to change the course of the mindsets of Black people or the human race. There were many saviors that came after that. Because I remember distinctly when Christ said in the Bible, "Greater works shall ye do." Mm-hmm. He said, "Greater than him?"
Yeah. These things I've done, you can do even greater. Yes, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I'm going to do greater. I have the possibility of doing greater than Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So, sometimes it's just a little confusing for me when I hear people say certain things and when I hear them, continue on down a path to where it's like their minds are so religified to where they can't come out of it in order to see themselves in a more natural way. The Garden of Eden to me is my natural course as a human being. Eating the right fruits, eating the right vegetables, kneeling down to pray, being grounded, walking outside with my feet on the ground, hugging a tree, taking care of the animals, that are in my path. That's my Garden of Eden. Being one with nature. Being one with the stars. Being one with the universe. Man, church has nothing to do with none of that. Going and sitting in somebody's building and watching them take a collection plate around that's not going to the needy and going to the pastor has nothing to do with my Eden. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with my heaven. Mm-hmm. To me, it's a little bit of hell, especially if I'm sitting at home and I'm sitting in the pew and I might need a card note, but you're asking me to give the last of my dollars for the church building fund. It's just certain things that just always confuse me.
Yeah.
And I used to watch people just give their last and hope, pray for a miracle. Hope and pray their marriages stay together. Hope and pray. I'm like, y'all did all this hoping and praying and paying. And it got you nowhere. It got you to divorce court. It got you got you evicted. It got you all of these things. Because at the end of the day, it was you.
Yeah.
You needed to change. God didn't need to change nothing about your situation. No. The church didn't need to change it. If you're going to be in the church, I thought the church was the storehouse.
Right.
Ain't the storehouse, ain't that supposed to be the bank of the people? If I'm going to give my tithes to the church, if I need rent money 1 month and I'm late, shouldn't I be able to go to the church? It never was like that.
Yeah.
I never understood that. So I just feel like people, need to wake up to themselves. This is why I get in the mirror and I talk to myself. There's a lot of things I don't need anymore because my connection to God is daily. It's by minute, by minute, by minute. Mm-hmm. Every time I think about talking to God, I talk. In my mind or openly, I speak to them. Mm-hmm. I don't need nobody around me. I speak to them, and guess what? They answer. Mm-hmm. I knew I was going to get that car. I spoke it. Mm-hmm. I said, my mama gonna give me that car.
Yeah. Yeah. The beauty in that
my mama brought that car over here and handed me the keys. Because I knew I didn't guess no more. I didn't pray for it. I just said, y'all know I need a car.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all up there watching me go through this, and y'all see I'm struggling right now. Come on, help me out here.
Yeah, that's the beauty.
And I think being real like that, to me, it's a different energy than what I was taught in church. It's a different energy when it becomes real like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I implore you to do that. It becomes a lot different. The energy is different when you can talk to them like they're right in the room with you, because they are. They're listening to you right now. They're listening to us.
Mm-hmm.
They hear us talking about them. And they're hoping that we connect and really believe that they're right there with us. When that's how you activate them. When they know you know, and you operate in knowing, that's what activates the God to come.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a witness to that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a daily witness to that. I see it all day long.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the one of the beauties of that, the most empowering things about that knowing, when back in church they say, when you know that you know that you know that you know that you know, there's a certain it's that confidence that you have in self even. You know what I mean? Like sometimes that could be even misplaced if you are too religious about it. You know what I mean? But when you know that you know that you know, that's something that you can't take away. You know what I mean? That's the reason why, they say that, and the Bible says, out of all thy getting, wisdom is the principal thing, but out of all you're getting, get ye understanding.
Yeah.
Because when you understand, you know. And that's something that can't be taken away. That's something that can't be taught. Nobody can talk you down on that. You know what I'm saying? You've done the work, you put in the effort and the time and all that type of stuff to the point where now you know. And you can move with confidence. You move with faith. You move with trust. And when you have that type of heart attached to that type of understanding, acknowledging the realness, like you said, of it, that makes the world move on your behalf. It makes the universe move on your behalf. It helps. If you want to look at it in another way, it gives God the go ahead to go ahead and do it, because why would I not? You know what I'm saying? Because they get it. She gets it. He gets it. And you know what I mean? Let's see what else they'll do now. Because as you continue to open up those doors, the opportunities that you have in front of you are endless. When you realize that whatsoever I think I can have, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that is just, it's like, for years I had went down this path of trying to figure out what the secrets to success was. I had heard about this book, The Secret. Even went out and got the book. Do you know that I was so naive at that time, to the point where when I read that little bitty small book, The Secret, looked all fancy and everything, had the little stamp on it and everything, I could not believe, I couldn't accept it because it seemed too simple. And it was worded out way more than it. I guess you could say it was, and then I haven't read it since then, but I know it dug into it, because like that movie that you'll find on YouTube, The Secret, is based off that book. You know what I mean? And what I like about the movie is that it talks about the importance of understanding what we are putting out into the universe by our thoughts,
right,
by our feelings. You know what I mean? It's like boom, 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 boom. I mean, it's like that negative feeling, that negative mindset produces. You know what I'm saying? Even when you're not opening your mouth, you're that powerful and you're that productive. The thing is are you moving in the right way for the right purpose? Are you doing the right things with your productivity? You know what I'm saying? Because misplaced.
As a man thinketh.
Yeah. So is he. So is he. You know, in that book, was it James Allen wrote, As a Man Thinketh? And one of the opening passages, it says that our actions are the blossoms of our thoughts. You know what I mean? Our actions come from what we do, and our joys and our sufferings
I like that.
are the fruits thereof.
Right. I like that.
You know, it takes away the ability to blame. When you understand that your situation, your circumstances, good, bad, or indifferent, are a direct result of your own thinking. You can't blame God. You can't blame your kid. You can't blame the devil. You can't blame the teacher. You have you have to end up blaming yourself or acknowledging it yourself, but to understand that you were the culprit in it all is so empowering and so empowering when it comes into you being able to change what you've created.
Right.
You know, because
if you can't see your own dirt, you know, you're not going to change anything. If you, like I said, this is why I look in the mirror. When I get mad at everybody, I go look in the mirror and I talk to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it's so different because they're not in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking at them. I'm talking to them because I'm going off. You know, I'm going off. I'm going off on James. I'm going off on my kids. I'm going off on everybody. But I'm looking at the mirror, going off. And as I'm doing that, I see me. I hear me. I see what I did wrong. I see what I said wrong. I see what I heard wrong. I see all of it. And it calms me. And I'm like, oh, God, wait a minute. I was wrong. That was wrong. I shouldn't have said that.
Right.
I shouldn't have done that.
Right. And you standing there talking to yourself, having that conversation. Yeah.
That part.
Yeah. And that is
big difference, dude.
Yeah, big difference, because, you know, like you said a couple of things. The first one is when you said, you know, when you were looking in the mirror, you weren't looking at them, you were looking at you, right? But here recently, I came into agreement with a mindset of when you're looking in the mirror, you're looking at all your ancestors before you that allowed you, that enabled you to be looking in the mirror right now. You are a product of all these people who came before you, who are still, I said this is something that I embrace, are still actively in existence. When you say you're speaking to the God, or some people say they're speaking to their ancestors.
It's all the same.
Yeah, it's all the same. But even more importantly, though, when you said you were speaking to them and you were looking in the mirror, you know what I'm saying? You were looking at them and they were looking at you. You know what I'm saying? Through that same reflection. And I think that is a very powerful thing, though. A very, very powerful thing. I mean, I used to do the mirror thing back in the day a lot, until it became hard for me. You know, it got to the point where it became hard to look in the mirror. You know what I mean? Because again, a lot of people don't want to see themselves in a bad light. You know what I mean? And sometimes still even do till this day, still, I struggle and I have to make myself and sit there and talk to myself and look myself right in the eye and have that conversation with myself. You know, because nobody else is going to do it. Nobody else is going to have the conversation with you better or more in depth or more personal, with more understanding than you will have with yourself, because you know you better than anybody else. The problem is that when you don't want to acknowledge those parts of you that you don't like. You know what I mean? They say that sometimes, that a lot of times when you got a problem with somebody else, And when you don't like somebody else is because it's a reflection of you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's something that you don't
Always.
like about yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I noticed that too. I noticed, and, you know, I noticed a time where I was, you know, upset with my daughter. And I went in the mirror and I looked and I started talking to her.
mm-hmm.
And I told her, I said, sometimes when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to me in you.
Mm.
And I need you to understand that.
Mm.
And she got it.
Wow.
It was like a door that opened for her.
Wow. You're talking about the one that's on TikTok?
But I'm talking to me in you. So I'm calling me out in you, not you out. I'm calling me out, baby. And I have to fix what I damaged.
Mm.
So let me fix it.
That's heavy.
And she got it.
Ooh, that's heavy. Ooh, that's heavy. I mean, and that is taking responsibility right there. You know what I'm saying? That is, yeah, that is taking responsibility for, you know what I mean? What your plight. I mean, you know what I mean? Whatever that she's with, however it is that she, I mean, yeah, I can see that. That's huge. What's even more empowering is that she got it. That's huge because that takes a level of understanding and maturity to do that. You know what I mean? Especially to just accept it and then not turn into something else. That's huge. That's huge. But for those that's listening, and acknowledgement that we need in order to continue to move on. You know, we have to be. We are master. We are our own master creators. Our own master teachers. Even like AZ always talks about. You know, and the Bible says, "Let no man teach you."
Oh my God. That became so real to me too lately. I've been, especially when I hear other people talking and other people discussing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you know, teach you everything you know. I promise you that.
Mm-hmm.
Every situation, you're going to learn something out of everything you do. I guarantee you. Ain't nobody going to teach you. You got to learn it.
Mm-hmm. Welcome.
The hard way or the best way. But
Yeah.
you gonna learn it.
You're gonna learn it, whether you like it or not. And that is one of the things about life that we can't get around. You know what I mean? Again, we try to blame it on God, but it's just something about this life where the responsibility for us to learn and grow is just inevitable. It will not allow us to continue on or move too far in life without learning certain lessons. It takes a certain amount of growth, of going through. And that's the reason why, you know, when you find your tribe, it is so empowering because you realize that you were not in this alone because they've had to do that work too. They've been through things too. Not the same way you did, but to understand that it was all part of a going through. It was all part of growing up. You know what I mean? In order to be in a room full of adults, you have to be adult minded. In order to have that mind of a true adult, of a responsible, mature individual, then that means that you've done some things, you've been through some things that have made you that way. Whether you be disciplined, whether you be mature, whether you be wise, wherever you're at, we did not get to where we're at by happenstance. It is a requirement of being here on this earth. I do subscribe to even the mindset that we chose this ride. You know what I mean? We said, okay, now's the time when I want to go. I want to go and do this. The thing is that once we cross that path, we don't know exactly what that do is. You know what I mean? We have to grow into it. You know what I mean? This is that life experience that I am learning to embrace. You know what I mean? As I continue to have this mindset of wanting to be successful, when technically being successful is daily progress, moving toward a certain goal. Achieving it is getting the goal, but you know, to live a successful life is not a destination. You don't make it too successful and walk in the door. You know, it is a way that you think. It's a way that you move, and it's a steady course of accomplishing and growing. You know, another thing that I have embraced when it comes into happiness, to be happy comes from not somebody else doing it from you, for you, or anything like that, from an outside thing. It comes from the progress that you're making with self.
Right.
You know what I mean? When you're comfortable with who you are and the things that you're doing, it gives you that ability to actually be happy. You know what I'm saying? And that is, you know, I mean, these are those right there are some new things that I have embraced that are helping me to continue to grow in that mindset, because I have not made it. I have not arrived. God forbid that I would even put out there that I'm just this perfect person or whatever. But one of the goals that I have behind put my face in the place and put myself out there is for people to be able to see me grow and grow with me. You know what I mean?
We're here. I see you. I'm growing with you.
Yeah.
And AZ is right in the comments. We see you. We're growing with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Two down and millions to go.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not going to lie. I am loving the journey when it comes into accomplishing that goal. You know what I mean? Of hey, Balboa, welcome. And it just, I mean, you just don't know how good it feels to know that, regardless of the things that I'm saying and doing, that there's people around me like y'all that actually seen and know where I came from. You know what I mean? Were there when I lost everything and watch me as I struggled to get everything back.
Right.
Welcome. Yes. Yeah. You know, we grow through what we go through. And that's a lot of times whether we like it or not. You know what I mean? What makes it hard is when we are stubborn about it, when we don't want to own our shit, when we don't want to take responsibility for our actions, our words, our thoughts, how we treated other people, how we treat ourselves. You know what I mean? When we buck against the reality of who we are, we cause that disruption that we were talking about. We throw ourselves off alignment when we don't want to acknowledge, accept, and do what's necessary to change it. You know what I mean? If ultimately our goal is just to acknowledge it, but then turn around and don't allow ourselves to have an empowering mindset of our ability to change it, you can acknowledge it and end up kicking your ass and beating yourself up and saying stuff like, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? I don't know why this is happening and all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? And you go out seeking and searching when ultimately it's the solutions are in that quiet place. You know what I mean? That only you can get to, where in order for you to be in true alignment and true acceptance of that next level, of that next phase, that's because you came to yourself, and whatever answers or decisions that you are about to make now, that you're going for now, they are in alignment. They correlate. You feel like that when you got that download, it was confirmation. When you heard that person say that, you saw it on TV, this might have happened in life. When this is where I used to talk about being able to see God move, right? Because when you do become aware, you notice movement in your life, whether it be inwardly or outwardly, because you're that aware to the point where as soon as life picks his feet up to move in another direction or to slow down or whatever the situation is that's happening in your life, in your own way, when you are truly acknowledging and in tune with yourself, you really have the ability to see it to the point where you can see it before it goes bad. To the point where
there you go.
You know what I mean? And you have the ability to make the necessary corrections, especially when you understand how much you are in control of it. But your ability to be able to see when things are changing can be pivotal. Pivotal when it comes into you being able to have peace and confidence and actually being able to change and fix that situation without much lag, without you having to lose too much, without you having to necessarily even work too hard. You know what I mean? When you understand the simplicity of the fact that whatsoever man thinketh, so is he, that you can literally change how you are looking at that situation. You know, when you realize that sometimes you look at things and you realize, hey, bro, Card, welcome, and get back again. You realize that you can't just, that the fix is not that easy. You know what I mean? That you got to this thing and that you run into this situation or circumstance, and even though you are this empowered, I mean, you know, you're embracing that power within inside of you. You also know that you got to learn some more. You got to grow some more. Hey, Unique, welcome. You have to be honest with yourself enough to know that you still have room to grow. And that means that you might not be able to have what it is that you want or go where it is you want to go, or whatever the situation is, because you still got to grow some more. But that takes awareness, honesty, and self-discipline when it comes to how we move, because you know that you're just not fully prepared. And they say a blessing is not a blessing if it comes too soon. And a lot of times when we're in that mindset of wanting to force things and things like that, well, I mean, when you force things that don't fit, you have to learn the hard way. You know what I'm saying? That it wasn't for you at the time. And that possibly could mean that you end up missing out on something. You know what I'm saying? But
it also
go ahead.
It also could mean, you know, because when you said that, you know, when a blessing comes too quickly, it's not really a blessing. Is that what you said?
Yeah. When a blessing comes,
that's not a blessing.
Yeah. It's like in the mindset of you buying a child a car and they 14 years old. You know what I mean? It's great that you got them a car, but they too young to drive it. It's too soon for them. That's where. Go ahead.
Hey, I got my first car at 14.
Okay, my bad. Maybe I should say 9.
I was a responsible driver. But, you know, Mississippi is a little different. You know, we drive pickup trucks early down there. So, you know, but what I was going to say is that a blessing, when you're in line, you know, and I'm going to go back to what you were saying about alignment. When you're aligned with, you know, the Spirit of God, and you're in line with that totally, you know, that's your goal. Your sight is what God sees, what He wants, what His rules are for this planet. When you're in line with that, blessings come quick because you're in line with it. But when you're not in line with that, blessings it'll come and you won't even understand that it's there, or you may not recognize it. And then there's a possibility you might miss it. you know, or you might think that it's too quick. So that may not be the blessing because I don't deserve it. You know, could you get, sometimes I've gotten that way. Like, no, that's too quick. It's got to be something wrong with this, you know, because that came too quick. But when I started to become real with God and I started to get real serious about knowing that they're there, I started seeing the blessings come, y'all. My answers came quick, right away. So every day I walk like that, I talk like that. I have to keep my mind, my focus there, because I've seen the results and the fruits of that. That if I stay aligned with that energy, I'm going to see what I want. I'm going to get what I desire. But is there things in me that needs to change? Yes, I got to change some things, because if it involves another person, I have to change some things, because I have to be able to relate to that person. I have to be able to connect to that person. I have to be in focus with that person. I have to be literally in the moment, by moment with that person. So I can't say, you know, that. And like I said, I heard what you said, bro, but I believe that it's all about what you were talking about earlier, being in alignment. When you're in alignment with that, God will give you the desires of your heart quickly, because he knows you know better. You know he exists. And your heart is so open to him and open to the promises that God has given you. And you're open to correcting yourself in front of him, in front of them, in front of your children, in front of your loved ones. You're open to correcting yourself. You're not too afraid to say, I'm sorry. The blessings come quick. The answers come quick. I find answers in just, you know, sometimes I'll say, you know, when I'm talking to God, I have this room in the back of my house. I sit down here and I just talk. You know, I repeat certain words and certain phrases, and I get to talk. And I'm like, I know y'all there. Let's talk. I need some answers right now. I need you to come through for me for real, because I know y'all listening. You made me. I'm here. If I'm here, I know you here. So we ain't gonna do that no more. So I know you here. You know, I don't have no doubts. You know, that's what I'm talking about. I don't have no doubts now. So everything I do is in alignment with that. I get it now. That's why I'm aware of everybody. I'm aware of the presence of everybody. I'm in the moment with everybody. And sometimes I have to wake up and say, stay in alignment. Stay in alignment. Be focused. Be focused. I say it under my breath all the time. I'm in the kitchen sometimes, and you know, my grandkids around, my roommates around. Stay in alignment. Stay focused. Stay aware. Don't miss nothing. Don't miss. I say it to myself all the time because I'm quick to miss stuff. That we in our hands a lot. And I know I can miss some shit, you know, because I'm always thinking. So I have to do that to me, you know, because I have to reel my air in. I'm like, okay, I can go all the way out in space and they won't know. I'm sitting here looking at them and I'm way out in space somewhere. And they think I'm listening. You know, so I have to do that to myself. But I say all of that to say this. When you become aligned with knowing the power of God, and seeing the power of God in your life, and seeing that when you ask for something, it comes quickly. Like, wow, you heard that. So you are listening. Okay, so since you're listening, let's talk for real, for real. What, you know, I get real like that with them because they real like that with me. My life ain't no joke. Your life ain't no joke. You're not living here just to be living here. You're here for a reason. So if you don't want to talk to them about the reason that you're here, just please leave the planet. Just leave. You're here for a reason. So don't you want to know what that reason is? Don't you want them to guide your steps? Don't we sing a song in church about guide my steps, guide my steps in your word? Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me, Jesus. I want Jesus to walk with me. We sing these songs all the time, but we don't understand the power of really what is being said. Walk with me means that when I walk outside, when I get in my car now, when I'm driving, I'm praying and I'm talking to them. Bless the drivers next to me. Make sure that no one in my circle, their children, my grandchildren, my friends and their children, make sure that they get to where they're going and back. And keep around them. I send my guardians to everybody that's under my care. I do that now because I know they hear me. And every day I've been doing that for the last 20 years. Praying over my children. Praying over my grandkids. Every time I get in the car, take me to my destination and back. Let not one wheel go out of this car. Let me not veer off. Let me not go to sleep. I talk to them like that because I know they hear me. And they're in control of whether I stay here or I go. So I'm real like that.
Yeah.
And I see results from it. Quick results too.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I think that I might be possibly missing out when it comes into understanding the power of prayer. I do have a newfound understanding when it comes to that power. Hey, peace and abundance to you. Because with my embracing of the Christ is in me and the power that's in me, I struggle with sometimes why and who I'm praying to. Just being honest. Is me being now more spiritual and not religious. I find it to be very, very important that I understand that I, even in my praying, that the results and y'all can come in and I would love to hear how you feel about this too, AZ. But the results that I get from the prayers are coming from the words that I said. So when you say that you pray over your kids and you've been doing all that type of stuff, to me, there was so much power in that because of what you were speaking. The power came from the intentions and the words that you spoke, the spells that you conjured. Because that's power. I mean, that's the power. I mean, it's and not even. I mean, and a lot of times, especially in the midst of prayer, you don't really think a lot. When you're in that zone, you're not really in a thing where, you sitting there thinking about the words that you're going to say before you say, you just let it go. You know what I'm saying? And you just make that connection within self and you just having that conversation. But even in the midst of having that conversation, when it comes into that Christ chakra, you know what I'm saying? That, the Christ being within inside of you, start from your pineal gland and how it spreads, and just the power of you embracing that creator in you to the point where you can accept the fact that what you are praying for, the words that you're speaking, are going to have results. It's kind of like that now faith that they talk about. Now faith is the substance of all things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Right. There was a time in my studying where I went on this big trip about that very first word. Now, of course, you're not going to run into the now faith in all the different versions, but in the King James Version and in a couple of other ones, that now is still going to be there. That now faith, that believing that you already have what it is you prayed for. to the point where when you get done praying, you have the ability with no problem at all thanking God, your creator, for hearing your prayer and giving you what you asked for. It's annoying.
Right.
It's annoying. Like I got this thing where it says, when when you're not aligned, your efforts don't multiply. They cancel out each other. You might be planting seeds, but you're stubbing on the soil. So one of the things that I'm challenging everybody tonight to do is to slow down, zoom in, and ask yourself, are my daily actions aligned with my ultimate vision? Because the only way you activate your future is to start moving like it's already yours.
There you go.
You know, in alignment with purpose, with confirmation, with conviction that this is exactly what I am supposed to be doing right now. You might, because as you grow, as you achieve things, as you continue to embrace and grab life by the rails, and you get to moving and doing all these different things, as you get to the next plane, you're going to grow some more. You're going to want more. You're going to see more. You're going to see more stuff that you can't see right now. You will be so happy with your dreams coming true and you getting everything that you want right now, right?
Right.
But ultimately, when you get there, guess what's going to happen? It's not going to be enough. You're not going to be satisfied. You're going to want more. You know what I'm saying? You're going to want to grow some more because life is going to require you to do that. As long as we're here on this earth, we're always growing. Always growing. You know what I mean? It's a terrible place to be in a spot where you feel like you know everything and you can't be taught nothing. And nobody can't teach you nothing because now you can't learn anymore. You know what I'm saying? You're putting yourself in a stagnant place in life because believe me, I don't care who that person or individual is that might be thinking that way. Life has its way of snapping you out of that. It will humble you.
Right.
So you can learn some more. Hey, welcome back, boy. You know what I mean? So you can grow some more, but you can make life a whole lot easier, a whole lot less stressful if you just embrace and accept the fact that that's what life is going to do to you. It comes with ups and downs. You know what I mean? The good times and the bad times. You know what I mean? The good runs and the bad runs. And it's important that you accept them and acknowledge them as they come. You know what I mean? Through the different phases, through the different transition periods. These are things that we just really can't get around. You know what I mean? You can go to school. You can try to have the best relationship. You can do all these things to try to make life peaceful where you just don't have any problems. And that's just not going to work. It's not going to work. Shit happens, but for a reason, whether it be something that you did or something that's required for you to do. And when you are at that point and phase in your life where it's something that it's required for you to do, then that means that you're probably at a point where you got to grow through this. You know what I mean? When you feel yourself in an uncomfortable place, when it seems like things aren't right, this requiring this change, that's a growing opportunity. In my mindset is that every obstacle is an opportunity. When I'm in the workspace, whether I'm dealing with real estate or whatever situation is, when I run into a problem, that is a huge opportunity for me to learn. You know what I mean? The wrong thing for me to do is to get mad and huff and puff and throw fits and talk about this big problem I done ran into and how things just ain't working and all that type of stuff, when I find it to be so much more empowering to say to myself, okay, I can't do this, but what can I do? You know what I mean? I ran into this situation. So what is it that I really need to learn? Because if there's a will, there's a way. You know what I'm saying? If somebody else can do it, I can do it also. You know what I mean? It's about me being able to come to myself and step back, whether it's just a life thing, like I said, when I'm fixing something, whether I'm working on something mechanical and all of a sudden that saying comes in my mind, if it don't move, don't make it. If it don't fit, don't force it. That means that don't try to make that damn screw turn and it ain't turning. That means that something is stopping it. It is my responsibility to figure out what it is.
Right.
So that this is easier, so that I can actually get this part over here and put this new part on so that this thing is running again. But you'll never get that. You'll never fix that issue if you're trying to force even just one part of it. You know what I mean? Because it's together like that for a reason. And our ability to be able to acknowledge and understand how it is that we got there, how this particular part works. If you understand how it's supposed to work, it makes it a whole lot easier for you to fix it. But in order for you to understand how it works, sometimes you might have to do a little research or study and all that type of stuff. But ultimately, it's going to require you to put in a little bit more work, to take a little bit more time. Now you're not going to be able to do it right now because, like I said earlier, you realize that it's something else that I have to learn. There's another way to do this because right now this ain't working. There's something that I'm missing. And sometimes you can be blessed to have somebody around that can teach you, that can advise you, that can show you. But even still, then you have to be willing to learn. You have to be teachable. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, you stay in the same spot. You don't know how many times sometimes I run into situations, especially in a leadership position where I'm trying to teach somebody something or show somebody something, and they be like, nah, I got it. I'm, well, you know what? I let them learn. I walk away. Okay. I'll be over there if you need me. You know what I'm saying?
It's hard to do that too. Sometimes it's hard to do that, but sometimes you have to.
Mm-hmm.
I've come across that this week alone, where I had to just put my hands up. Okay, you got it.
Mm-hmm.
You got it.
Now, because I know that one or two things are going to happen in that moment. Either they're going to go ahead and process this out, and they're going to figure it out, which is a great opportunity and learning expense from them. I don't want to steal that from them. Or they're going to end up having to humble themselves and allow me to show them. And they're going to be way more approachable and acceptable of learning how to do this new thing. You know, but that requires a certain amount of patience and understanding and all that type of stuff too, because when it comes to being in alignment with things in the midst of let's say a big project and all these things are going on, and I'm just dealing with one person who has this problem, I can throw the whole everything off by trying to force this person to think, do, or be a certain kind of way. And I got all these other things going on, and the whole thing can fall apart if I focus on the wrong thing too long. Yeah.
And when it starts to feel different, please know that you're getting out of alignment. Mm-hmm. You said something earlier about that. You know when it's veering off course. Don't let it veer off course. Get back in alignment. Get back on track. Get back to where it flows. It flows.
Yeah.
It flows.
Yeah.
When it flows, it feels different. The energy is different. It's comfortable. It's not stressful.
Mm-hmm.
When it starts to feel off, you're veering off course. You're being distracted. Something's taking your energy. Something's stealing something from you that's taking you off course. Recognize it. Get out of it. Get back on course. See, all of these are movements. These are movements of what we're here to do, what we're here to experience. But we have to recognize when, like you said, we have to recognize when it's going off course and get back on track. Don't go too far to the left. Don't go too far to the right. Stay in the middle. I think Twin used to talk about that all the time, being a middle path. You know, they're talking about that now in spiritual sciences, where there's a middle, there's another energy, there's another line of connection, and they're talking about that middle person, that person that's right in the middle, that connection that's right in the middle. They're not left, They're not right. They're right in the middle. That balancing act.
Yeah.
The balancing of both sides. Holding the scales up, both hands, and you walk in that tightrope. That's really what life is pretty much going to be about. And everything you do, you're right there in the middle. It's almost best to be that way. It's almost best.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you're going to upset some people if you're too far to the left and they're on the right. Because they're going to want you to come all the way to the right with them.
Mm-hmm.
But if y'all both meeting in the middle and y'all walk in the middle and y'all understand that, hey, I'm a person too. I got a brain too. I got things I want to do too.
Mm-hmm.
How we gonna get there? How we gonna help each other in the middle? Let's come to the middle and see both sides of this and see where we can help each other. Come balance our lives together if we're gonna be together. I don't want you to be too far over there, and I'm walking this path and you walking that path, and we supposed to be together.
Mm-hmm.
Let's walk the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this together, hand in hand. Where we're not weighing each other down. I'm not taking so much from you because I'm too far over here, and you're not taking so much of me because you over. It can be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand the importance of that middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
The older I get, I understand that. I get it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's
balancing. That balance is important, man.
Yeah, that's that balance in a relationship that makes it last forever. You know what I mean? When you have that open, willing, and understanding of being able to compromise with a mindset that we're in this together, that we're growing together. When you are walking, like you say, on that middle ground, I believe it helps and enables you to grow together. You know what I mean? But it's when those intentions aren't right. You know what I'm saying? When the purpose behind it all is not in alignment with what it is it's supposed to be, it can end up being a very, very disastrous and rough road to travel before either things come together through very hard, strenuous work, very emotional trauma, because that means that you're going to go through some things and you're going to have to then come to a point where you both have this conversation and you then decide that I'm in this for the long haul and nothing's going to stop me. And you both are that serious about it. But a lot of times in a lot of marriages don't work. You know what I mean? You run into situations where one don't want to hear nothing that you got to say. I'm done. Or I don't want to hear nothing that you got to say, and this is just the way that it is. And you end up, either one of those is a losing battle. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're not growing together, you're growing apart. So whether or not you want to acknowledge what's happening, the reality of the lack of communication and understanding and camaraderie and support that either that y'all have for each other, when you can see that this is not flowing that way, and then are unwilling to do that work, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to talk to nobody else. You don't want nobody else in your business. You don't feel like sitting there and trying to convince the other half or whatever to let's go through this book together. You know what I'm saying? Or let's watch this marital teaching or whatever together, because it's something that I talked about last night that I encourage, because in those moments, the hard questions come out, the ones that you might not talk about. But when you are reading a book together or you are talking to a counselor or something like that, they're going to ask you and point out some things that y'all probably would not have ever talked about. But now you get the opportunity to go ahead and hash this out, because you realize then you get to jumpstart and get in front of some of the stuff that's going to happen in the future by having that conversation now. You know what I mean? It ain't happened, but we talked about how will we act if this happened. You know, or are we going to talk about it? Yeah. Or are we going to throw in the towel? Because if we're really together for the long haul, nothing's going to break that up. You know what I'm saying? No matter what happens, I mean, that's just, again, like those type of couples I just admire. And I aspire to be like, you know what I'm saying? Because they're honest with each other enough to tackle life together. You know what I mean? And regardless of what happens along the way, they stay together. You know what I'm saying? Or they don't get divorced, they come back together. Whatever the situation is, you end up looking up and they've been together all these decades and all that type of stuff. But I have not met a couple, and I will be amazed if anybody has ever met a couple that's been together 30, 40 years, all that type of stuff, that ain't been through some stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, some stuff that a lot of people checked out on. They'd have been married 2 or 3 times for the stuff that y'all have been through in the same relationship, but you stayed together and everybody else fell apart. And that's that mindset. I believe that comes from the initial intention on regards to why I'm with you in the first place. Why are we doing this in the first place? Because that mindset of we are together because we see that together we can conquer the world. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Together, I mean, there's nothing that we can't do. I mean, that mindset in the beginning pays way to, I believe, a really, really, really good life. You're not going to be without problems and ups and downs and real life shit happening and some real fuck ups as you continue to grow. You might lose yourself, find yourself, you know what I mean? Whatever the situation goes through, but because
human stuff.
Yeah, human stuff that, I mean, you cannot foresee. I don't care who the person is, how they are, whatever. Shit happens. People change. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
For the good and the bad. Sometimes even changing for the good might require some bad stuff to happen in your eyes, but it's good for them.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You winning, but I'm over here crying. That don't make sense.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So
you winning, and I'm making me cry.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But that is, man, that's so fucking important for those who do aspire to be in marriages again or relationships again, to embrace that mindset that the next person you choose or in this relationship that I'm in, that I'm not in it for the material, the physical, the sex. Hell, I'm not in it so that I could be treated like a queen or a king. You know what I'm saying? Or because the Bible said I should, or because I got this marriage certificate and I'm going to hell if I get a divorce. You know what I'm saying? You are in it because you are with the person that you see yourself being with for the rest of your life. You're willing to go through hell and high water all the way to the end with that person, no matter what. That takes a whole lot of maturity. That takes a whole lot of.
And it also takes you knowing that people are not perfect. They're perfected, you know. And I think sometimes we get that we don't understand that about each other. You know, that first year might have been amazing when you met them and everything went great, and you know they put on their best face and you put on your best face, and you know you said the right words, he said the right words, you know everything was good. You know that second year, somebody at work got in his ear. You know, somebody that didn't want to let him go got in his ear. You know, something you said and you didn't understand what it meant. You went and talked to somebody, they got in your ear. So your energy changed towards that person. Anything can happen in that second year that can throw off that whole perfect year that you thought they were your person. What do you do then? Do you keep going down that path with them because now it's not perfect no more? Or do you just, figure it out? You gonna figure it out together? I say this to y'all all the time. No matter what happens, I still want Chocolate Goodie around me. No matter what happens, I still want Azrael around me. I want these people in my life. So I know that for sure. I know that for sure. And that's how you have to be when you meet someone. You have to look at them and say, yeah, they got some flaws. There's some little quirks about them that I ain't too, I don't really subscribe to all the time, but that's them. That's what makes them them. So I trust people to be themselves now. I don't trust people to do what I want them to do. I trust you to do you. That's all I trust you to do is to do you. I trust you to say what you're going to say. I trust you to be how you're going to be. I trust you to react how you're going to react. That saves me the headache and the heartache of expecting it to be perfect for me. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
It's for me. It helps me not get disappointed, if you will. Because if I accept you as the person you are, and I'm saying to you, no matter what, I get it. I still like you. I don't like some of the shit you do. And I guarantee you ain't gonna like some of the shit I do. I promise you ain't.
Welcome.
I can be much sometimes. I get it. But I promise you I do want you around me. Because I like you that much. I do want you around me. Everything else I can deal with. I can walk away from you arguing. I can just not be involved. I ain't gotta get ignorant just because you are.
Right.
I'm gonna go over here and pray that ain't no gun pulled out and you and this other person ain't tripping. That's all I'm gonna do, and pray, and hope nothing bad happens, and stand up for my friend and stand up for my family, whatever that might be. But at the same time, do I want this person in my life? Do I see me going the distance with this person? Do I see me being able to have a conversation with this person where this person is not flying off the handle all the time? Can we get back on board if they do? When we did do that, was it okay? Did we look at each other differently after that? Did we treat each other differently after that? I pay attention to all of that. And when I see that, okay, they good with me. They know it's not personal. Because one thing I don't want to ever do is hurt my friends. One thing I don't want to do is hurt my children. I don't want to hurt my loved ones. But if I hurt you, 9 times out of 10, I was hurt. I need you to understand that about me. Understand I was hurt. That's why I hurt you. And it might not have been intentional, but I said it because in my head, I was struggling. I was jumbled. Something rattled me all day, and you just came at the wrong time. I need you to get that. So when I find people like that, yeah, I'm holding on to them.
Yeah, that's the type of relationships that I'm looking forward to building as I continue to build this new life of mine. Long-lasting, solid relationships, friendships to the end. You know what I'm saying? To the point where, and it's one of those things that I am aware of when it comes into what I'm doing right now. I am in full control. I don't have to. I'm not in a place or situation where I can be drawn in by the old, by how things used to be, and allow people from the past to distract me or pull me a certain kind of way and things like that. I have the choice and the ability to pick and choose the people that I want to be in my life, not just now, but for the long run. You know what I mean? I'm somebody who I was a hood nigga type deal. You know what I mean? Where um I did not embrace relationships or friendships outside of my neighborhood. You know what I mean? My niggas was my niggas, and there wasn't no room for no other niggas. Even though I had different sets in my own little way, but it got to the point where I missed and allowed a lot of good opportunities to have some really good friendships with people along the way because of that mentality. You know what I mean? So that's another something else that I'm dealing with and growing through. But I'm very cautious of, you know what I mean, who I choose to call a friend or family.
Yeah, you have to be.
You know what I mean? For everybody involved. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be a disruption or or allow there to be future drama or these future fallouts because I or you chose to deal with somebody or that's not really for me, or because I chose the wrong person to be a friend for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? So it's like, everybody has to go through this new process with me because of all the stuff I've been through. Some people have said that, oh, now I'm punishing them for the things, for what people did for me in the past. No, it's not a punishment for you. I mean, it might be because you're not getting what you want, but ultimately, it's me being wise and cautious about the decisions that I'm making. And I've learned that takes time. It takes discipline. And that's on my part. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, for other people, that means, they might have to be patient. If you ain't patient, you're going to have to be patient because I'm not moving at your beat. You know what I'm saying? According to your feelings and all that type of stuff. It's just, I can't do it like that. You know what I mean? Unless you're in a leadership position and we have this mission in front of us, this job or something that we got to do, you know what I'm saying? I am fully with that. You know what I mean? I'll play my part and I'll do my job. You know what I mean? But outside of that, I am learning to be in control of my thoughts, my actions, and I know that I'm at a unique place in life that a lot of people don't get, where they get to rebuild all over again and put people that are for them and to surround myself with people who inspire, educate, empower, love. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? To people I can grow with. And to not do that would be that moment of that what we talked about. Either fooling your goals or regret. You know what I mean? When your alignment is either going to fuel your goals, or if you're out of alignment, it's going to fuel regret. And I don't want that. I don't want that for me or nobody else. I'm not on a mission or taking my day-to-day nothing. Everything I'm doing, everybody that's in my life, whether you are here for a moment or a lifetime, you know what I mean? If you're around me a few days or long, whatever, if you are in my life, you are not supposed to leave the way you came. I've been through too much and all that type of stuff, and it's just important to me that I'm that person to you. That you just knowing me, you know what I'm saying? You just being around me, listening to me, watching me, whatever the situation is, that because of the impression that I've left on your life, you know what I'm saying? You can be better and different. And you might not have to go through some of the stuff I went through. You know what I'm saying? You might be able to achieve more faster, easier, without so much pain. You know what I'm saying? Because I have presented myself as somebody that you could trust. You know what I'm saying? That you could listen to, that you could act on when it comes into the things that I put out there. You know what I mean? My thing is always, my hope is that people will trust me, but I don't want people to trust me without verifying the stuff that I'm saying. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about a blind trust like they expect for you to do in church sometimes. You know what I mean? Even though the Bible says, "Study to show thyself approved," a lot of times people and the people who's teaching the people are perfectly okay with the people just following them or listening to them. And their words become golden. Whether you got somebody up in the pulpit talking about, in order to get to God, you got to go through me, or, you know what I mean, saying that stuff like, you know what I mean, in order to get certain results that you have to sacrifice so much and spend so much money and do all these things in order for God to act on your behalf. I just don't aspire to that anymore. You know what I mean? I do believe that the real power and beauty and all that is, like we've talked about before, is understanding that greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. And for those that might not be biblical and all that type of stuff, it still has its power. You know, I don't know what the Quran says or what these other books say, but I do know that throughout all the religions, there is a certain tone. Throughout the whole Bible, there's a certain tone that I believe that whether they knew what they were doing or not, the ancestors made it to the point where the same lessons and power of change, and our ability, like it said in the Bible, these things I have done, you can do even greater. That means that I'm a powerful person, because this, according to the Bible, this thing was running around healing the blind, raising people from the dead. You know what I'm saying? You know, that means that I'm a very, very powerful person if I want to go to that extent, right? But that does not happen if I don't embrace him in me. If I still look at it like I have to earn my way to even have that power, I'm not even talking about salvation or nothing like that, even though it just ran across my mind. That's why I said it. Because even in that mindset, the same way it is with this power that we're talking about tapping into, it's not something that we have to earn. I said it. You know,
It is.
You know what I mean? It is.
It just is.
It just is. It's just like in the Bible, it said now of course, on a religious aspect in the Bible, it says that this is something that happens, you know what I mean, once you have acknowledged that he is and that he did die for your sin, you know what I mean, that you have this ability to I guess you could say be saved or be empowered or whatever. But the reality is that all it takes is for you to accept it. It says something like, if, and this is when Paul was getting on one of the churches about salvation and about righteousness and going to heaven, whatever the situation is. And he asked them, he was like, if somebody gives you a gift and because you don't do something and later on down the road, they see that you didn't do something the way that they wanted you to do it, or be some kind they didn't want you to be, and they turn around and take that gift back. Was it a gift at all?
I think that in the Indian culture, they call that Indian giving.
Exactly. Exactly. And to me, there's so much power in that, because whether you want to look at it, whether you want to look at it as salvation or your ability to speak things into existence, that's not something that you have to work for. It's just a gift that's given into you. It's not going to be taken back. It is the blessing that was bestowed upon you because there was breath in your body. And because you are here on this earth, you get to be a God. That was heavy. You know what I'm saying? You get to be a creator, a master manifester. And really, nothing can stop you from where it is that you want to go, if that's what you truly want for yourself. It's the reason why and how a lot of these people are doing the things that they've done and creating the things that they've done, whether it be AI, the internet, you know what I'm saying, some fancy car or boat, you know what I'm saying, they're writing books and all that type of stuff. These things are not something that came from one place and came from another. These are people using the gift that they got, the power to create, to invent, thinking and believing that they can do something that nobody else has ever done. And they're willing to keep trying until it happens. What they say, what's the name? The light bulb. Everybody gets excited about the light bulb, but they say that he failed over 1,000 times. I'm gonna just stick with the low ball, 1,000 times. I think it's way more than that before he finally got it to work. But in his mind, every failure was one step closer to success. Can you be that resilient? You know what I mean? Can you trust yourself enough to say that I'm going to figure this out no matter what happens? That if I get knocked down, I'm going to get back up again because I'm built to win?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't have this feeling.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the problem. You've been doing it. You just forgot about your track record.
There you
go.
Go
Over your track record.
There you go.
Go over your report card. You've been doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Facts. And a lot of people don't want, but that's the beauty in reflecting on your past. You know what I mean? And it's not about dwelling on your past, but your ability to look back on your past decisions and learn from them is priceless when it comes into your future growing or your future becoming, because now you can become wise. You can take that past experience, that past knowledge, and couple it together in this new space that you're in. And now going forward, you get to make wise, educated decisions that empower you to never have to go through that again, but get you to the next step of learning. Like I said, we grow through what we go through. For everybody that's listening here on YouTube, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I know that I have this little
beautiful conversation, Clint.
Yeah.
Beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this.
Yeah. I appreciate everybody for coming and for being here. And I'm looking forward to jumping back in next week. May is not a month to try. It's a month to master. You already have everything you need to elevate. But now is the time to align, activate, and ascend. Let May be the month you become a magnet for your destiny. Not by force, but by faith and flow. You can thrive. As I always say, don't let what you can't do stop you from doing what you can do. But please do what you can do when you can do it. Embrace your power to change, to create, to evolve, and understand that nothing can stop you. Again, back in if God be for you, who can be against you? If you keep having those moments of confirmation along the way, embrace the fact that you are heading in the right direction. And I also want to encourage you to embrace the fact that you can be even better by being even more willing to learn. And it's crazy, I keep going back to it, but in the Bible again it says, draw nigh unto me and I'll draw nigh unto you. Seek and you shall find, Ask and you shall receive. Knock and the door shall be open. Your actions will produce. Your discipline and your thoughts will produce. And I am excited for you because of what you are about to do and are continuing to do or will do for yourself. With that being said, do you have anything you want to say, or if you got any, if you're in the comments, do me a favor also too. Think about one thing that you can do this month that will help you to be more in alignment with your goals. It might take you some time. This ain't a rush thing. You know what I mean? You might have to sit back and be quiet. You know what I mean? But think about something and be honest with yourself that you need to do to be more in alignment this month. Is this going to be the month where you master it? Or is it just a growth month? Either way it goes, we're talking about progress. Quinn, you have anything to say before I get out of here?
Well, I would, first of all, I enjoyed myself. Thank you for the invite. Can't wait for the next one. And I would employ everyone that's listening, go before your God. And I say that with all honesty. Go before your God, sit down and talk, and be real. Be in the moment. Listen, hear, and watch how differently things